Radhe Shyam. So in the previous lecture we have heard that how Supradnya, she explains the path through which the meritorious person follow after death, and then how he is honored by Lord Yamaraj, and then they go to the city of Lord Vishnu and they live a happy life forever. Now Supradnya is going to tell how the person who has lived the life sinfully, after quitting his body, what kind of path he follows, so that we are going to understand. So she says that the people who have lived the life sinfully, who never chanted the name of the Lord, who have disturbed the devotees of the Lord Vishnu, who have performed all kind of forbidden activities which are mentioned in the scriptures. So such people, on their path, after quitting their body, when they walk on the path, that path is full of afflictions. So that path is like 86,000 yojanas. At places there is a shower of fire. At some places there is a shower of stones when these people they walk along this path. At places there is a hot sand, they have to suffer. At places there are sharp stones. At places there are hot stones. At places there is a shower of weapons upon these people. At places there is a shower of burning charcoal. At some places a breeze which is hot like a fire, it blows upon them. At some places it's full of darkness with the openings covered with grass. At some places there is a shower of thorns along with thorny arrows. At some places there are rows of rocks which is difficult to climb along with serpents. So these sinners, after quitting their body, they are suffering with their dry throats. The sinners with their throats and palates, they are patch up and they go there, and because they are so unhappy, the sinners go along with the path which is full of various kinds of sufferings and without shade and water. So the sinner's name is Vimukta Kesha, some of the form of goblins. So the sinners, they take the form of a goblins, fierce, wet with the stains of blood. So some are adorned, smeared with the mud, and some sinners, they are with the dark bodies, they go along with the path. Some sinners, they are waiting with agony, some with their eyes full of tears that are trickling, and some are repenting for the deeds which they have done. And when they go along the path, round the neck of some sinners, they hide a noose. There is a big noose is tied up. The chains are bound around someone's skeleton and someone's both feet. So the Yamaraj servants, they angrily putting a noose around the sinners' necks, they pierce with needles, they drag them, and the sinners carrying in the cavities of their ears heavy stones lying on the path, and carrying the iron loads on the top of their heads. They go along with the path to Yamaraj Abode. Then Yamaraj servants, they take some sinners after putting noose around their arms and after keeping a strong weapons on the neck. So by tossing the sinners, Yamaraj servants, they take them, so they make them walk with the heads down, some with the feet up, and some walk on the hands, and some walk on one foot, and thus they are deformed, and these people, they cry piteously, loudly. So these sinners are being beaten by the servants of Yamaraj along the paths. And when they had come, the Yamaraj, he angrily gave up his divine form and he became very fierce. His body was 30 yojanas long and his eyes resembled wells. And then his complexion was smoky, and this Yamaraj, he was very luscious, very prominent, and when he sounds very gugglingly. Then he's mounted on the strong he-buffalo. So he bit his lips, and then he had a noose of a hide, and his face has curved eyebrows. He looks very horrible. Even the Chitragupta, who had a great illusory power, whose eyes were red due to anger, and he would laugh loudly. So all the servants of Yamaraj with the noose and mallets in their hands, who were fierce and angry, thunder like a clouds, so all they were running from every side, and they would say, "Quickly kill these most sinful ones, break them, cut them, and pierce them." Then Lord Yamaraj, he will treat all the sinners who are running here and there and making a crying and making horrible sounds. So the Yamaraj would speak to the sinners. He would say, "O sinners, O wicked one, you people are thoughtless. You have committed so many sins. You have troubled yourselves. You do not see me remaining over your heads when we are committing sins. You completely forgot. You don't know what we're doing. Even knowing me that you will be punished after death. I'm the Lord of life. You have committed so much sins. Nowhere have you heard with your own ears that I am the brother of meritorious and I'm the enemy of the sinners. The hellish life are unbearable. It's very painful. They are full of various afflictions. The sinners experiences them. They undergo tortures. So, have you not heard this before? O you sinners, or wicked-hearted ones, you regarded my inquiry to be just untrue. O you have committed sins today. See it with your own eyes. In the blindness due to wealth, all of you being so insolent, who never followed my words, you never followed the words of scriptures. You always committed heaps of sins, and accordingly, O wicked ones, now you're going to experience the fruit of your own sins. So what is the use of crying and shouting and yelling? Then Supradnya, she told to Brahman. So this is how Yamaraj, he was speaking to those sinners. And then Yamaraj, he said to Chitragupta, "O you noble one, take into account all the sinful deeds of these people who have come here." And hearing those great words of Yamaraj, Chitragupta, being directed by Yamaraj, he would tell as many sins of them who had committed, and all the sinners were waited for the punishment. So some were frightened, some were controlled with a noose of hide. Then the sinners would say, "O Yamaraj, the son of Lord Suryadev, who were the witness when we were performing the sins? Who have witnessed the sins? Can you tell us? Who were the witness presented by you to the sins which we had committed? Please tell us. Who witnessed the good or evil deeds that we did formerly?" And then Yama, he would start laughing. He would say, Yama, having laughed, spoke these words very angrily after surmounting all the witnesses. So Yamaraj would say, you were all nearby and the witnesses to whatever took place. Who are the witness? The sky, the earth, the water, the dates, the day, the night, both the twilights, and Dharma, me myself. These are the witnesses. The Lord who is situated within your heart as a Paramatma, He is a big witness. And then all this witness would narrate all the good and evil deeds of the sinners and the deeds of each one of them, and the time, and they would give all the details, what time they committed sins, which day they committed sins, which place. All the details were provided by these witnesses. So each witness, he would tell Yamaraj in their presence, this is a time, this is a place. And hearing this, the minds of all the sinners were, they were frightened. And then they stood with their hearts trembling as a deer remain on the seeing a cloud. And then, making the sound with the rows of his teeth, the Yama separately struck them. And all those sinners, they were struck separately by Dharmaraj, by Yamaraj. They wailed over their deeds and being alarmed, lamented. Then other messengers of Yamaraj, they threw by Yama's order all those sinners into hells. They dropped some sinners into the hell called Tapana, some hell called Avichi, Samaghata, Kalasutra, Maharavarava. These are the different types of hellish regions. Then all these sinners were thrown into the hell called Pramardana, which was breathless, where breathing was not possible, which was very fierce. Some hell were very fearful. There was a hell which was having a various kind of foods, which was rotten. Certain servants of Yam similarly threw some sinners into the Vaitarani. Some servants threw some sinners into the fierce pool of feces, stool. Some sinners were thrown into the hell which was full of thorns, along with bones, and which it was extremely hot. Some Yamaraj servants threw them into the hells, which where smearing was done with the feces, and the food was made of feces, dirty food. So also in the hell, they would eat their own flesh. Some sinners drank semen. Some sinners, they drank urine. Some sinners, they drink blood. And the mouth of some were full of leeches, serpents, and different kind of bacteria. Some hells are filled with the serpents by the fierce messengers of Yamaraj. So the very angry servant of Yam, he would extract the tongue of some sinners, and some sinners, some servants of Yam, they will feel the heated oil into the cavities of the ears of the sinners, sometimes into the mouth of some, and some they will cut off with the edges of the swords, with the sharp swords, the hand and the foot. Also ears and the noses of some wicked one would be cut by the sword by Yamaraj servants. Some servants were slapped on the heap of burning charcoals. Some were sleeping on the thorns resembling arrows. Some Yamaraj servants pulled a sinners out the hair and they threw them into hot mud. And they repeatedly inserted thousands of heated needles into the mouths and the joints of the nails of certain sinners. They put certain sinners on the tip of heated pike, sharpy thorns. They hurt the heads of some sinners. Some were seized, and some sinners were crying piteously by the hands and feet, and cut them asunder with the thorns of salamali trees. Some Yamaraj servants, after trying a stone around the neck of the sinners, they repeatedly threw some into the ditches which was full of blood, and into ditches which was full of pus. Some messenger of Yamaraj devoured the heads of the sinner, Some were angrily again and again crushing them with the stones. They would put into the chest of the wicked ones who were crying the masses of iron nails. The eyes of certain sinners were extracted with hooks, O Brahmana. The nose of some were filled with scorpions. Some Yamaraj servants, they used to tie the feet of some sinners with the ropes to the branch of the tree, and they would burn a fire with the smoke at the root. There the sinners inhale all the smoke, and they remain there with their faces down and feet up as long as the moon and the stars shine in the sky. Some sinners being repeatedly beaten with pestles and mallets, and they overcome by agony, they vomited a blood. Some sinners, they sank into the abode which is full of darkness and having the odor, the smell of pus, along with the flies and gnats. Some ate ash, and some were eating insects. Some were eating a smelling flesh, and some earth with pus. Some sinners were being beaten by dogs, tigers, jackals, and hogs, also by the bears, and they were wet with blood. Some sinners were being eaten by serpents with extremely strong poison, and the chest of some sinners were being torn asunder by the horns of the buffaloes. So sprinkling the ground with their blood, they fell as a swoon on the earth, and their entire bodies were shattered with arrows resembling snakes. And some were discharged with arrows from the bows of Yamaraj servants. They were crushed. Yamaraj messengers, they sewed the nostrils and the mouths of some in order to suppress a breath. And those who were arrogant, very strong servants of Yamaraj, pull out with Yama's sharp-edged weapon the skin of the bodies of some. They seized some of the hair and dropped them on the ground. They always struck the sinners with weapons and their feet, and some sinners were tormented with streams of saline water. They wailing in various ways, they would only drink saline water, and certain sinners, they drank bile, dirty. Some great sinners, they drank the mucus resembling thick milk, which is very ugly, flowing from the nose. And some were like some Yamaraj servant, they would place on the chest of some lying on the ground big heated stones resembling mountains. They tied with the strong cords the faces of some. They turned upwards after putting a pair of logs at their necks and into the throats. They dropped some into the ground after placing them on the branch of a tree. So they raised them again and again and threw them on the ground. In this way, all the sinners, hungry and thirsty and murmuring, save me," cried in the abode of Yamaraj. So these sinners keep on suffering till the end of the yuga. They experience such torment in hell, yugas after yugas, and having not experienced the remaining sins, when they born in the sinful stocks. So these sinners, they born in the sinful stocks, are troubled by disease. So when these sinners, after being tormented into the hell, they take a birth on the earth, some other planet, and then they are troubled by a disease. They are defective by limbs, or they have some excess limb. Sometimes they are unhappy, they resort to sins. Sometimes they are suffering from not having a son. Some are born as great fools. Some are born absorbed in harming others. Some are born with a short lifespan. Some are born as a dull, mad, and some are born as husbands of bad wives. And some sinful people, they do sinful act through physical deeds, mind and words. Again, as a result of the sins, they will go to the hell as before. Therefore, the best one should never commit a sin. So the man who has committed a sins cannot escape from hell. The hellish punishment is confirmed. So Supradnya, she was telling, "O best Brahmana, I have explained to you in brief the afflictions of the sinners. Who is able to describe it properly even with hundreds of myriads of years? Then having observed the sinners with the bad plight, we got into an aeroplane and then we went to the Vishnu's city. And having enjoyed a pleasure in Vishnu's house for thousands of crores of kalpas, now we were born in a very pure royal family. And having enjoyed here all pleasures with all the affluence, O best Brahman, now we are very happy and peaceful. Now we would have a happy and peaceful death, and we would go to the highest place. In the three worlds there is no other vow like Ekadashi. So such is our mode of existence. Even after our having observed the vow unintentionally, I do not know what would happen to them. Through a Vishnu's grace, who observe the Ekadashi vow with devotion. O best Brahman, I have thus told you all that you have asked about the importance of the day, and what else do you want to know? And thus, hearing these words of this, the Brahman, knowing the highest truth, put his mind very firmly into observing the Ekadashi vow regularly. And the king and the queen, having for a long time they enjoyed the earth, and after that they went to the Supreme Lord's abode and they obtained the highest position. So those who listen to or recite the importance of this king of the vows, Ekadashi vow, and this katha, these pastimes, they would become free from the hips of sins, and they will obtain the place near the Supreme Lord Vishnu. Radhe Shyam.